Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
and we're continuing our Scooby-Doo talk from last week. We're talking about Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. And I know we ended the first video, Craig, by saying that we believe this one is better than the first one, despite the first one actually getting better reviews, if you can believe that.
No, I don't.
I remember, so Craig, I don't know if you remember this, but we saw Scooby-Doo 2 together in the theaters. It's one
We
of those
did.
weird movies that I remember. You know, like you have those weird memories where you just remember seeing things in the theater. I remember going to this one, and in my head, I always remembered that giant pirate ship scene. I always remember that. That's like all I remember from my movie theater experience of this movie. And I always liked it. I like I said, I thought this one is a lot more better than the first one. I think part of the reason why it is better is that they kind of, since they edited down the first one from like a rated R PG-13 to PG, this one they had the mindset all the way through that was going to be PG.
Yeah.
And I think you can definitely tell that it was, they had that in mind and they had that target audience in mind this time around.
Well, yeah, because now that I know about the first one, I can go and kind of see the scenes where they had to edit or change. Well, again, knowing now what the original intent for this one, I don't really see any of that stuff now. Like you said, I think it's entirely made to be like an actual Scooby-Doo movie, not some rated R version of it.
Yeah, some weird, the like, I guess you could say pervasive version of Scooby Doo, which no one would want to see, honestly. No one, only weirdos want to see that.
Yeah, I like this. That's probably why I like this one more. It's 100% pure, unadulterated Scooby-Doo, for better or for worse. I guess for worse for critics, but for better for us.
Yeah, I think also because I just finished watching this maybe a couple hours ago. The humor in this one's a lot better than the first one too. Like I feel like some of the jokes land more. I guess you're not going to agree with me.
Sorry, someone walked into the room. Yeah, I think the jokes are better. Um, Also
On
just
the
like goofier too. Like I remember,
Oh yeah, yeah. You continue.
like when Shaggy and Scooby find the lab, it's just pure cartoon nonsense.
Oh yeah, where they become Scooby
Scooby,
becomes like a mad scientist. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to have the blissful ignorance."
of my old self again, and Shaggy just, ugh, dude.
Because
For some reason, Scooby turns into the Tasmanian devil.
oh yeah, yeah. Like this one is just like pure like cartoon nonsense. And I think we talked about that in the first review where for Scooby Doo, like it kind of has to be like that where it's a live action cartoon essentially. Because
Or
again, it's a talking dog. You know what I mean?
also, it just lends into it. Like that's how the cartoon was. Like it was a cartoon. It was it had its moments of levity. It wasn't like some rated R deconstruction of Scooby. Like no one wants to see a rated R deconstruction of Scooby-Doo. That's only like for weirdos want to see that. I want to see unadulterated Scooby-Doo. I want to see cartoons, things, people smacking each other, all the cartoony nonsense. Like I like when they go into the faux ghost, which of course is a hilarious name for a nightclub.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they're trying to blend in.
Yeah, and they have these over the top like pimp outfits.
Scooby Doo is clearly like a man. His body proportions are like a 6'3" man
Yeah, with like a fake head.
in an afro.
People know, it's Scooby it's a dog wearing a disguise because was Old Man Winkle said, yeah, your friend's nose deformity.
But I think also there's some jokes that obviously you wouldn't catch as a kid. There's one where I was at the very end, and I don't know if you want to. Do you want to give a quick plot breakdown, or that's not really important? I feel like everyone has seen this movie. I feel like,
Well, it's a Scooby-Doo thing, they're trying to solve the mystery and then
yeah.
unmask the guy.
So, what was the guy's name? Tim Blake Nelson. What was his character's name?
Oh,
Doctor
Jonathan
Jacobo.
Jacobo.
Yeah, Jonathan Jacobo. He is the main villain, and he had a mask of Alicia Silverstone over his face for the entire movie. And when he is getting arrested at the end, the cameraman, who's also in on the little scheme, he says like, "So you were a dude this whole time?" And he's like, "Yes, of course." But we cuddled.
I remember catching that as a kid because obviously, you would assume like, obviously they probably assume they're like kissing or something, but
But
yeah.
we cuddled.
Also, I love in that scene too. And Ned is you like yanks on the guy's like hair and like pulls some
In the
hair
back of
out.
his head.
Ow,
Ned!
Ned. Uh, I love like the whole Fred versus the press thing going on in the movie.
Oh yeah, well you posted something on our channel,
Oh, 'cause I
uh,
love that
a
scene so
clip
much.
from this movie.
The little Colesville can handle itself. Hey, truth the thing, you're gonna say Coolsville sucks.
No, wait, don't use that. Oh, there's a part that was. Oh, the part where Scooby and Shaggy are talking to. What is Seth Green's character's name again?
I just saw it
Oh,
too. It was a
Patrick. When they're
Pat.
talking to
Yeah, Pat.
Patrick in like the alleyway, and he's like, they think he's doing something nefarious. He's like, "Oh, I scared you guys." And they're like going back and forth. And Shaggy's like, I think we could do this all day, and something tells you the feeling that you would.
I remember too, like, yeah, he was like trying to like get information out of thugs. I remember that was like so weird.
Oh yeah, he's like essentially roughing him up.
Yeah, this small little Smithsonian guy's roughing up these criminals. I feel like this criminal underground or criminal, underground of all former Scooby-Doo villains too. Like, how many people are they? Like, how many criminals do they keep unmasking?
It's Scooby Doo and his beatnik friend Shaggy.
Oh God, I just that's what I like it this one more. It just and again, I love the cartoony aspects of it. All the famous gags they would always do.
Yeah, and
All the
I
running
like
from
also this
monsters.
is a small touch. They have like the same sound effects from the original TV show too. Like those over the top like Looney Tune sound effects.
The only thing they're missing was this laugh track.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was so bizarre
Yeah, because I
for
remember like
the
we
older
would see those
Scooby-Doo.
those old VHS tapes, and yeah, they always had the laugh track.
I remember on Cartoon Network too when they would show it. I was so confused by the laugh track. I'm like, but it's a cartoon.
Yeah, I think that's when Hanna-Barbera did. I forget when they. I don't remember when they did it. 'Cause I think was it also in the Flintstones?
Was the Flintstones like that?
I don't remember. I didn't see as much Flintstone stuff.
Well, that was before our time.
Yeah, that too. Well, so granted, so was Scooby-Doo, but at least it was continuously running.
Well, I think they
So
had the Flintstones on Boomerang. I don't know if that's probably not still a thing, but it was
I
like
doubt
some
it.
subsidiary of Cartoon Network where they used to show all those.
Yeah, old Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
But at the time, old Hanna-Barbera cartoons are like 30 years old. Like at the time of Boomerang. That was like
Yeah.
the late 60s. Now, what were you about to say? I
No,
cut
because I
you
remember
off.
in the beginning of the movie when they're inventing, or not inventing, investigating Old Man Wickles' mansion, where Shaggy and Scooby see the Black Knight ghost, and they immediately run into a room and start barricading the
Oh
door. And
yeah,
of
and he
course,
he he comes in through a trapdoor and starts giving them stuff to barricade. Yeah,
I know I've seen these gags like a million times, but they always give me a laugh. Like he's helping them out.
I
Or
think also.
Shaggy,
Yeah, you go, you go.
I don't know, like especially at the beginning of the movie where Shaggy and Scooby are trying to become real detectives because they messed up again, and Scooby just finds a bunch of random junk in the house, like, oh, a clue. Hee hee.
Oh, it got a chuckle out of me when Shaggy's trying to have Scooby recite like "I will be a better detective," and he just starts saying, he starts speaking in his unintelligible nonsense.
Because something I didn't catch as a kid was when Scooby got all that random junk, he stole the guy's toilet bowl brush,
Oh yeah,
and
they
then
bring it
later
on
on,
later on in the movie.
yeah, so that, who you stole my toilet bowl brush? And it's like Scooby Dooby Doo.
Scooby, Scooby, Scooby Doo. You just can't go
Uh,
wrong with Scooby Doo.
I love this cartoon nonsense. It always gets a smile out of me.
I
Like I
think
said,
this is like a weird tangent. Well, not a weird tangent, and this would be a quick one. I think that's why I love Ned C. Classified so much because that is essentially like a live action Scooby Doo cartoon.
which is a cartoon doing like they have like sound effects, like there's like it reminds you of like the '60s Batman where they have like the pow, like all those like sound effect punches coming onto the screen sometimes.
They should make more shows like that. Not necessarily like Netsu Classified, but where it's a live action cartoon, essentially. Those always just get a let me rephrase that. A good live action cartoon.
Yeah.
Those always get like a chuckle out of me.
'Cause remember, again, I think I mentioned this last week, but I saw Looney Tunes back in action, one of
Oh
the first
yes,
times
yes.
ever. Basically, a live action cartoon. It's hilarious. I loved it so much. Just because I love the cartoony nonsense. Nothing makes sense. It's so over the top and silly, but it's still charming.
I remember also in this movie, one of my favorite parts was always when Scooby gets the fire extinguisher and then just starts freezing the slime monster somehow.
Yeah, the Tar Monster.
Don't know how that works. Yeah, the tar monster. I don't think fire extinguishers work like that. But that's a cool scene, by the way. That's a very
Yeah, play the Scooby-Doo theme song.
yeah. The music like when that feels dated. The song like it feels early 2000s, and then it feels like that because it is. But I don't know. Like it definitely has like that feel. Like you could tell when there's like a song that sounds like it came from the early 2000s.
I also, you kind of tell with what they're wearing. I mean, especially more so, I think Fred and Daphne, like Velma and Shaggy look more like themselves. Shaggy just had an undershirt on, his green shirt.
That's that Mystery Ink on the left sleeve.
Yeah, but I think Fred and Daphne are definitely more deviated. Look like a 2000s version of themselves versus, their classic look.
Well, yeah, you can't really.
I don't
I
care.
mean,
Fred will wear the ascot. I don't care if
I
it's
like in the beginning when they're at the premiere of the gallery for the Coolsville. What do they call it? The Coolsvillion.
the Coulsonian.
Coulsonian. That's what it was. The Coulsonian Museum. All of his fans come up, and then he's giving ascots to everybody. And got a chuckle out of me was Velma's fans is called like the Dinkle Brigade. And I remember as a kid when they first show Seth Green's character Patrick, and it has like that romantic music playing, and he over the top trips. As a kid, I thought that was like one of the funniest things ever. And then he just gets back up and walks like nothing happened.
Because James Gunn wrote this movie, he did that gag before too, right? Didn't he do one of the Guardians movies like they're walking slowly and then like they trip?
I can't even tell you.
I don't know. I feel like he did that in one of the Guardians movies, but I can't remember. I don't know. It is funny.
The Dinkle Brigade.
Yeah, and I forget like all of them had like their own little gang name. And of course Daphne has the two nerds with the tattoos
Oh yeah,
on
yeah.
their
Boy,
chests.
that would be accurate in real life.
Yeah, it's not even a joke. Those two guys actually had tattoos.
I think
Hmm.
also Fred was a lot better in this movie than he was in the first one. And I liked Fred in the first one, but I don't know. This felt more like I guess you
He
could say
felt
what
more
the
like the leader,
cartoon. Yeah.
taking charge.
And the other one, he was kind of like an airhead in the first one.
Yeah, this one he was more done with the media, but still they're being very manipulative with him, like taking everything out of context. This is all Fred had to say. I think Coolsville sucks.
Coolsville can handle themselves. I think, Craig, we have to address the elephant in the room that everyone always talks about these Scooby-Doo movies from the 2000s. It is the CGI. And I think everyone has made fun of it, obviously, even when it came out. Pterodactyl looks absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but these are the movies that I would give a pass because it kind of fits the cartoony aspect of the movie too.
Oh, I know, I know. I'm just saying that's what people always like to make fun of is the terrible CGI.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
again, it like the cartoon pterodactyl looking cartoony definitely fits in the world because as we've been saying for the past 5 minutes, it's a giant cartoon. It's like a live action cartoon. It fits.
that's why it doesn't bother me as much. When we make fun of the Marvel movies for having terrible CGI, not only do they have these humongous budgets, but they're definitely going for more realistic tone. Ish, I know it's a comic book movie, but still, they definitely go for something realistic. This is a pure, unadulterated cartoon. All the typical gags we have in the Scooby-Doo cartoons. So that's why it doesn't bother me as much. I mean, some look good, like the Black Knight look good.
Yeah, he did. He
I
did.
mean, I'm pretty sure that was a man. Part of it had to be a man in a suit. I
I
don't think that
mean,
was all
I don't know. I didn't
CGI.
really watch any behind the scenes footage.
I don't know. Just like watching some of the fight scenes, especially in the beginning, it looked like It definitely looked like someone was in the suit or something.
Maybe for certain shots they had
Yeah.
a big suit for a point of reference.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that was all just CGI. I mean, obviously some other like the tar monster or those two skeleton ghosts or the pterodactyl.
Oh yeah, the skeleton ghosts were cool.
Yeah, 10,000 volt ghost, all these guys. Yeah, obviously all CGI, but
So I'm wondering when they're referencing the older monsters from in the beginning of this movie, and I think they said their first takedown was the Volt one. Do you remember who they said their first takedown was when
I
they're
thought it was
showing
the
the
Black
suit?
Knight ghost.
Was it the Black Knight? Is
Because
that
I
actually true from the Scooby-Doo movie, like the original Scooby-Doo show?
yeah, I looked up. He actually was the first person they unmasked.
Ah, I was gonna say like I'd hope they do the research if they're gonna make such a line like that in the movie.
Well, that's another reason why I kind of like it. It definitely feels more of a celebration of Scooby-Doo. The first one, it got saved with the editing, but it didn't feel like a love letter to Scooby-Doo like this does. This definitely embraces Scooby-Doo and, its history and all the wackiness that comes with it.
Yeah, they brought back all those monsters.
Which some were real, some were fake, but still, like, I always loved that, I didn't know I forgot his name, but it was the diver.
Oh yeah, the one that Fred backs into and just sends
Yeah.
him
It,
flying.
it always looks so cool.
Yeah, it had like that green aura around it.
Yeah, I know it's the diving outfit. Apparently, it's called the Ghost of Captain Color. It's been a long time since I've seen the original Scooby-Doo cartoon, but I always thought it was cool, like the man in the diving suit with like the moss and seaweed coming off him.
I think isn't he shown in the opening of some of the Scooby-Doo cartoons and like the original ones?
Yeah, I remember him. I think what was it, the Creeper? I always remember those ghosts too with the chains on them.
Right, right.
I think it was one's Charlie the robot.
Is that the one where it has like a blue face and it makes like that droning noise?
He has like the red eyes. I think it
Right,
was about red
right.
eyes, but
I
still.
think it was orange.
Yeah. Let me look up his name because remember he was in the Mystery Inc. Incorporated cartoon.
Oh.
Yeah,
But I
Charlie the
think
robot.
yeah, I think that's a great point though. That definitely feels more like it doesn't feel as I want to say spiteful as like the first one where they clearly weren't trying to be like a faithful kids adaptation. This one definitely did feel like that. Where yeah, we're bringing back these other monsters.
Which name that you had to do. Like I wouldn't like if this movie obviously it'd be structured very differently, but say they didn't have any older monsters, which was the Soen original movie, which would have been fine too, as long as they kept the core, which was what I think we appreciated, the silliness of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Seeing the old monsters is just a bonus. I wouldn't call it like the only reason why it was good. Just nice to see something that,
They actually cared. It seemed like in this one. Not that I
yes,
said that they didn't care about the first one, but it seemed like this one they definitely had more passion.
they're bringing back all these older monsters.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read any negative reviews for this one because it currently holds a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really? What was the first one again? I
First
forget.
one was like a 32.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't much worse.
Yeah. I remember I was kind of shocked because, like I said, even as a kid, I've always liked the second one more than the first one. Let me see. Maybe I should have done more research on like on what the reviews are saying.
Well, it's also hard too. I mean, a movie that came out 20 years ago, people are going to change their minds.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's kind of shocking. I mean, granted, I think part of it, people have to understand their target audience. Because I imagine some of the negative reviews would be from, bitter adults who've lost all joy reviewing this movie versus people
Someone
like us who haven't completely lost their joy in the world.
someone from 2004 said the acting is so over the top that any goodwill developed from the first film is instantly dashed.
It's a talking dog, man.
I mean, it seems like at the time people didn't want Scooby-Doo to be a live action cartoon for the movies. I think they wanted like something more serious. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I don't
But
know, yeah.
I don't know if this is if this movie suffered from this. But you remember how 20 something years ago when the first superhero movies were coming out, the studios didn't want it to be comic book accurate because they wanted to generalize it for the audience. Because they're like, oh well, those fans are only such a small portion of the wide variety of audience that would see the movie. And nowadays, you contrast to now, and everything is like more accurate to the comics, or at least they should be, or like they try to be.
Well, some were, but then we slowly get not anymore.
But the point I'm making at is that comic book movies now are seems like they're more intended for comic book fans, as back then, like when X-Men was coming out, it was more for the general audience. So they strayed away from some of the sillier stuff, and it seems like Scooby-Doo and these first two Scooby-Doo movies were kind of in the way of that. Where since they were more like the cartoon, people didn't want that. They wanted something different.
A more mature take on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, like I mean, this is a small point, but those X-Men costumes in the first three movies are just absolutely terrible. And it's just like they didn't want to fully embrace the source material because the studio is probably saying like, "Oh, we need a bigger audience." Those fans are only such a small portion of that. I,
I get that point of view to a certain extent, but I feel like to draw people in, you need to be charming, like unabashedly yourself. You know, if you try to change it too much, I think people can tell when it's like it's very corporatized, you know?
hmm.
I don't
I,
know. At least that's how it is for me. Like if I know something, I guess, I know a lot more now, being on online, all that stuff. But if something's not unabashedly itself, you can tell it's like, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but I feel like that's what draws people in more when you're unabashedly yourself. I think that's what helped with like some of the Marvel movies early on. They have to work closer to. I know they were trying to be more realistic, but they definitely also were embracing more of the goofier side.
I
Versus
think
look at the Zack Snyder
Spider-Man was the
movies.
only exception. So I feel like X-Men didn't really follow the comics that well.
I was thinking more like Iron Man, Captain America.
Well, I think they came out later than like I'm talking about like the Daredevil, the X-Men, like Elektra. I'm talking about those ones. Like the very first couple of big budgeted superhero movies.
Yeah, and part of the times you look at it, like they almost didn't want to be a comic book movie. Like they was like they wish they were just doing something else besides wearing the costume. Like wearing the costume got in the way of the movie sometimes.
Yeah.
Like with
And
the
if
X-Men, you don't have to have maybe the bright yellow, all that crazy stuff. But at least give them a uniform. If they're a
don't
team
don't
fighting
give them all
villains,
black leather.
yeah, which I don't know why they like that was like a leather obsession at the time.
Yeah, Daredevil had a leather costume. But I think like if these Scooby-Doo movies they came out today, I think they probably would have been more better received than they were at 20 years ago. Just because I think the way everything has changed with the industry and whatnot,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I
like
think
the
people our age
reception
love them.
too. Yeah, well, yeah, people who grew up with them. It was definitely the people who grew up with the cartoon, and then when they saw this, they're like, "What is this?" When it first came out.
I guess, but I feel like that would be a pro.
I
Because I
honestly,
can't imagine
yeah,
someone who would watch the 60s cartoons, look at this and be like, I can understand if they had this reaction to Velma. If you
right.
watch the 60s cartoons, and you still love Scooby-Doo and you watch the Velma show, that's an abomination. This, I don't know, like, so we like it because it feels like the cartoon. And we were watching the cartoons at the time of this coming out, this movie coming out too. Wasn't, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was that much of a huge jump from medium to medium or adaptation to adaptation.
Yeah, at least for the movies, and they got Scooby right, and that's something Velma can't say because Scooby's not even in it.
I know I've said this a lot, but it always bothers me when keep things how they are. Like Scooby-Doo is meant to be a silly cartoon aimed at a younger audience. You should keep it that way. Trop's trying to make it into an adult property. It's not meant to be for adults. I mean, yeah, we appreciate it as adults, but we appreciate it for what it is, not for appealing to us specifically.
Yeah, I think especially if stuff is quote unquote made for kids, they don't have to be, yo gabba gabba. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I know,
exactly
that point
for
too.
kids. It could be for a big general audience where kids will love it and everyone will love it. I like to use Toy Story as an example because everybody loves Toy Story. And you know what? That's not rated R. No one's dropping F bombs and no one's making inappropriate jokes. It's clever, it's well written, and I think, you know, I don't know what
Yeah,
my point was, but I think like
well,
that's a
no, your
kind
point
of
is it's everyone can appreciate it. Obviously, it's
yeah.
meant more for kids, but adults can enjoy it too. It's got that universal appeal.
I think that's what they should do for Scooby-Doo. And at least this movie feels like it. Not whatever they're trying to do for Velma. We're like, oh yeah, we're making fun of Scooby-Doo, and like we said, and I feel like we're repeating ourselves. It just feels too mean-spirited for at least for Velma.
And not just mean spirit, but it's like I don't. There's no real appeal.
Yeah,
Like,
Scooby-Doo is the appeal. You could have like a group of hippies solving mysteries, but the talking dog is the giant drawing for everybody.
but the premise of Scooby-Doo is also it's entirely for younger people, for kids. You can't turn this into something for adults. I mean, it's a bunch of four teenage young adults, the talking dog solving. Just imagine in real life if they were trying to do this. Old man Wiggles in a Black Knight outfit terrorizing people to get off his land. Like no one would believe a ghost is terrorizing the land. Like the entire premise is ridiculous.
I don't
Like
know,
that.
Craig. Maybe Ghost Hunters or Zach Baggins will come over there with his
No,
ghost detecting radar.
not even in that sense. You know, if there's like ghosts, like an actual, that's a whole separate thing. I'm talking about like a guy in a night outfit terrorizing people to stay off his land or whatever he did in the original cartoon. Or some of these creatures like the 10,000 volt ghost or what was that one, the Frankenstein chicken hybrid.
Chicken Frankenstein? No, they called it something. I can't.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but
Franken chicken? Chickenstein? I think it's Chickenstein.
well, yeah. Point is, it's the entirely ridiculous premise that it fits better for a cartoon. It fits better for a young audience. Like I don't see why you have to change all this stuff, make it an adult. Like that seems like the biggest sign of arrested development in a person. If they can't accept the fact that something's just meant for kids, they have to grow up with their favorite properties. Like you don't have to grow up with your favorite properties. It's not for you anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I don't know. And part of me like loves the fact that you can go back to the stuff and it's still the same.
Because we definitely talked about this on our last video. I don't remember, but just like the innocence of Scooby Doo, that I think is just so appealing,
You
and
know,
it's honestly charming too. Like there's just this unintelligible dog that just barely speaks English, just runs around and solves mysteries.
yeah, and his best friend Shag, he's almost just like him.
Yeah, and like I always feel bad when Shaggy and Scoob are together, and they feel down on themselves. I mean, they
Yeah.
are like screw ups, but that's neither here or there. They are the
You feel
weakest
bad for them.
links. Yeah, they're trying. That's the thing, but they're trying.
Also, that's their job, in the gang. They're the bait. They're the ones that always has to get chased by the monster.
And I think was it always that Shaggy was the designated driver because he was the oldest?
I always remember Fred driving.
Ah.
I don't know, because I remember like you always watch the old cartoons. It's the three like Daphne, Velma, Fred in the front with Fred driving, and Shaggy and Scooby in the back of the van just being themselves.
Yeah,
You had
probably
it was
eating
like
some
a 10 neck
disgusting sandwich.
sandwich,
Yeah.
inhaling it.
Oh, I like that one scene in this movie where there's a cotton candy monster. That look that Shaggy and Scooby give. Oh
Like,
man,
wait
that's
a
funny.
minute, we're not trapped here with you. You're trapped with us.
Was it the cotton candy glob?
Yeah, and they're saying, why can't we fight more monsters like that?
Oh, that's such a great scene.
I don't know why I found this so funny now rewatching it, but I got a kick out of it when Fred fought the Black Knight Ghost.
Oh, with the dead or alive?
Yeah, all of a sudden this like real like intense like Dead or Alive starts playing. It's real intense. They start jousting each other.
Yeah, that was a little out of place.
Oh yeah, it's definitely out of place, but I kind of got a kick out of it because how serious Fred was like, I'll handle him.
Like there's some
It-
kind of bitter rivalry beforehand.
yeah, that we're missing. And he finds this perfectly intact motorcycle to joust the Black Knight Ghost.
I don't know, Craig, if I should. I'm looking at the clip right now with the cotton candy glove, and just that look of Shaggy when he looks up and when he says the cotton candy glob, and they're about to eat him. Should I make that the thumbnail?
Yeah, do it.
Oh man, that's funny.
No, I remember last week you asked me what was my favorite joke from the first movie, and I said I don't remember the first movie lines as much as these lines because no, I've seen this one more, but my favorite line was Shaggy says, "We're all gonna die," and Daphne goes, "Think positive, we'll die quickly."
That's from this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was my favorite line because it's kind of morbid, but also always got a kick out of
yeah.
me.
We're gonna die quickly.
I
I
love
think there was a
Scooby-Doo.
joke too when when old what's his name, Old Man Wrinkles?
Wickle.
Winkle, when the gang breaks into his little hideout and he's giving like an investor meeting. I forget what he said. I remember because I just watched this and then
I remember he was talking about how children can learn what it's like to
oh
be in the
yes,
mines back
yes.
in the old days, and we can work at 18 hours of the mining, free labor.
Yes, yes. I was like, oh my god.
See,
Free
that's what I love about
labor.
it. It's so over the top. It's funny. Like it's so evil.
He's the real villain.
Yo, it's free 18 hours of child labor. The children yearn for the mines.
Oh man. Yeah, I see that quote on IMDb. We're gonna die. Think positive. We're gonna die quickly.
I just love the goofy aspect of it. Like when they hit the diver ghost, instead of just flying back into the water, he's like a deflated air balloon goes
He's like a
flying all
whoopee
over the
cushion or
place.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when the balloon deflates, it goes all over the room. Uh,
I think we should keep watching more Scooby-Doo movies because it's definitely like, what's the word? It's
it's good for
therapeutic.
yeah, good. It's good for the soul.
Yeah, because like I said, Scooby-Doo is so innocent and it's very charming. It's good for the soul watching just Scooby-Doo do his little antics.
Like I always love at the end of the movie where the masked, I forget the villain's name, the masked whatever, goes, "Who do you think you are?"
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
All over the top. Or I love too when at the beginning of the movie where the reporter's giving the story about how they screwed up and they said Norville, Shaggy Rogers, and Scooby-Doo. Like they get like that's the real name.
Scooby-Doo. Well, Norville, obviously, as everybody knows, is Shaggy's real name. But
I,
Scoobert.
no, it's just funny like giving them their official names of people. Every time someone calls Shaggy Norville, it's always like I know that's his name, but I always find it kind of jarring because he's Shaggy. No one calls him Norville.
Only Velma does that.
Oh, in the Velma show, yeah.
Yeah.
That show is just gross in many
I,
ways.
Greg, I think we're building up to watching all these, charming Scooby-Doo properties. Because I don't know, I think we should do Scoob. And then maybe we could do, like, the Cyber Chase, right?
I thought you want to do the Zombie Island.
We could do that too. We could do both. And I think it's going to build up and then it crescendos into us reviewing Velma. That's what I'm thinking, Craig. I think.
I don't know.
I
Oh God,
don't know if I have the heart to watch that.
I don't. It just well, it wouldn't. It's not gonna ruin my childhood because I don't agree with that. Your childhood's intact. They didn't like rewrite your memory. It's gonna be hard to watch. I think that's what people should say. It's hard to watch. Hurts the soul to watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to see a show without Scooby Doo where it's kind of being mean to the Scooby Doo franchise.
It is mean, and it's mean spirited. It's gross. Like I said, I don't even know what the appeal is. Like who
There is
wants to
none.
watch this besides
Cynical
the girl from the
weirdos,
office?
I
Yeah.
think. Cynical weirdos who like that meta stuff. And I think I talked about this in the other Scooby Doo review, but it's like I don't mind a little, like I guess you could say meta humor. But I feel like everything nowadays is just trying to be like super meta. Like, oh, we're commenting on this. Isn't that meta and isn't that funny? We're commenting on this trope.
Yeah, meta, or they have to like they talk about gotta deconstruct what does Scooby do? Like deconstruct what? It's a very simple premise. It's about again four kids solving mysteries with a talking dog. Like what more do you need? Like
And
what's there to take down?
And every character has a distinct personality.
A distinct look.
Yeah.
Because I know I mentioned this in the last episode, but that's why I love the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated show. It's unabashedly Scooby-Doo.
And Fred loves traps.
Well, it's stuff like that, but also it's got the Monster of the Week kind of episode telling structure. There is an overarching story for the first two seasons, which also gives it some rewatchability, but it's unabashedly Scooby-Doo. It's very cartoony, has all the classic gags. I love it. And it came out in 2010. Like, it's not like this stuff can't be done. They just don't want to anymore.
Yeah, I agree. They just don't care anymore, honestly. But let's not ruin the end of this review by talking about Velma. Craig, uh, would you give Scooby-Doo 2 a thumbs up?
I would give it, yeah, I guess two thumbs up, 10 out of 10 Scooby snacks, whatever you want to say. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the nostalgia, but we talk. Like I said, I want to repeat ourselves, but it's a charming movie. It's silly. It's a cartoony, and I love it.
For me,
Better
I
than the
know it's
first
not.
one.
I know it's not nostalgia for me because I rewatched other, live act. I told you I rewatched Looney Tunes Back in Action. I love that so much. So I have no nostalgia for it, so I think I would like this without nostalgia.
Oh well, yeah, yeah, yeah. It is very charming. And I think honestly, movies are missing that charm factor these days. So it's good to see this, even though it makes us all feel old because it came out 20 years ago.
I, well, Scooby-Doo, it's meant for it is what it is.
It's
People like
timeless.
it. Yeah, it's got a timeless premise. I don't know, I love it.
Well, I think Craig, our next review is going to be on Scoob with an exclamation point.
That one I know I'm not going to be as positive about.
Because I like this little Scooby Doo kick we got going.
I don't know, because you always recommend these depressing movies. Like, let's watch this depressing property. Like, oh, I know some of it we agree upon, like Rebel Moon, because we know it's going to be
Oh
bad,
yeah, we had to watch that.
but that's like a slog to get through. This, I watched the movie and it flies by. It's like, oh, I love Scooby-Doo. I'm laughing.
I'm enjoying it.
It's like I know I've seen it a million times already, but I love all the gags. I just like it.
I like it too.
I'm a slapstick cartoon guy. I love it.
Yeah, I recommend Scooby Doo 2. 2. I love it.
Monsters Unleashed.
But with that being said, Craig, this has been the Unbiased Opinion where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
and we will see you next week.
I think Coolsville's pretty awesome, actually.